ओके। हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक। एक बार और आपका स्वागत है संडे डेमो डे में, जहाँ पे हम लोगों को बुलाते हैं जो फाउंडर्स हैं, जो लीडर्स हैं, ताकि हम दिखा सके कि क्या एक्चुअल में चल रहा है, इंडस्ट्री कहाँ पहुँच रही है, कहाँ जा रही है, क्या हो रहा है। और इसी सब को करते हुए हमने रियलाइज़ किया कि हम बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो करते हैं आजकल, जो हम देख रहे होते हैं इंटरनेट पे, वो बहुत ज़्यादा ही बनावटी तरीके से प्रेजेंट होती इन टर्म्स ऑफ डेमो, राइट? सो अभी जैसे एक नया रोबोट निकला है नियो, उसके मैं डिटेल्स देख रहा था, तो उन्होंने जो प्रोमिसेस किए हैं डेमो वीडियोस में, वो प्रोमिसेस एक्चुअल में रियलिटी नहीं है। वो जो प्रोडक्ट है उसे बहुत आगे जाके वो उस तरीके पे पहुंचेगा जहाँ पे वो ऑटोमेटेड अपने डिमांड्स ले सकता है, जहाँ पे वो कमांड ले सकता है और आपकी चीज़ें कर सकता है। इस चीज़ को सॉल्व करने के लिए मैंने सोचा कि जो डेमो होना चाहिए वो लाइव होना चाहिए, और उस लाइव डेमो के लिए हम आपके साथ हर संडे 12 बजे मिलते हैं। सो आज टुडे वी हैव अ वंडरफुल पर्सन, वन ऑफ माय गुड फ्रेंड फ्रॉम द कम्युनिटी। हेलो सोहम।
Hey Prateek, nice to be here. Let me know when we should begin. I'm assuming that you'll wait a little bit for
या
people to join in.
yes, so we're gonna wait for a little bit, right? But meanwhile, I would like you to introduce yourself, what exactly do, how you landed here, what Watermelon is doing, and what we're gonna see today.
Yeah, so I handle the go-to-market function at Watermelon. So Watermelon's a company based out of Singapore. We essentially provide or we make a reliability platform, a software reliability platform, which is used by several large enterprises to essentially go ahead and make the quality of their applications better. So we are used by large banks, we are used by some large regulators in the Asia region. We're also used by many other, financial and non-financial institutions. Insurance companies use us a lot. So essentially, what they use us for is to make sure that the toil of making sure that the quality of their applications is acceptable is reduced because the effort and the time and the money that it takes to ensure quality and reliability is very often multiples more than the amount of money and time it takes to actually develop the products. So that's what Watermelon does. It's a AI-driven no-code platform. And what we will show today is essentially a small demonstration of how a testing community, a software testing community, can completely automate the testing of their application with no coding involved and do something in about 15 to 20 minutes, which normally takes about 2.5 days to do. Yeah.
Mhm.
About myself, my background is primarily in technical solutioning and pre-sales. I've been part of sales teams for the better part of 20 years now. Uh, Worked prior to this in companies like App Dynamics, Data Robot, DMC Software, and prior to that in various service providers in India. So primarily, my background is in sales and pre-sales.
Perfect. So when we talk about the testing of softwares, right, we know it's one of the important part before going live, right? Most of the company don't focus in UI UX testing, or maybe API testing. There's something every time. Whenever any product going live, there is something which is missing, and then clients have to come back, and which does not look good, right? And so what are the pain area which you feel nowadays companies have, which they are not focusing on, especially in the AI era where everything is getting launched very quickly?
Yeah, the need actually what we try and what the industry is going towards is they first of all have moved from thinking about testing to thinking about reliability. So reliability is actually a function of two things. So think about ourselves, right? When we are essentially using things in our day-to-day lives, let's say you're using Google Pay. When you are paying something using Google Pay, you're basically subconsciously thinking of two things. Number one, did the money go from account A to account B? In other words, did the transaction succeed? So if I'm paying 100 rupees, I want 100 rupees from my account to go to 100 rupees of the seller's account. That's number one. And number two, I need it to happen quickly. So reliability is actually a function of correctness of functionality and low latency. So this is essentially the starting point. Now, the need of this is obviously the hyper competitiveness of the industry. You can think about it yourself, right? Let's say you are traveling for a vacation. You're traveling for a vacation. You're going to, let's say, Sri Lanka, Thailand, whatever it is. And just before traveling, you go ahead and try to book travel insurance. You go to site number one. If there is even a single latency, or if there is anything that gives you an error, it takes you like 3 seconds to open site number two and book it from there, right? It's a very, very small window of opportunity that many enterprises have in order to keep revenues constant. Now, insurance is obviously a very, very customer centric business. So changing insurance is very easy. Changing bank accounts is probably not that easy. Yeah. Just if you're unhappy with your bank, you probably won't close your account the next day. But still, making sure that these things work is very important for a lot of companies. And coming to your specific question, what exactly makes it tough? Number one, new age technologies to develop software, things like Flutter, things like Flutter Flow, which are essentially easier ways to develop software, makes it very difficult for testers to test software. Yeah, the testing technologies haven't kept up with the development technologies. So development keeps happening with newer and newer technologies, but the testing community lags a little bit behind. Yeah, so it makes it very difficult to test for good software. That's point number one. Point number two is that the skills that it takes to automate testing is almost the same skill that it takes to develop software. They're both very skill intensive jobs. So if an enterprise gets a person who can automate testing, they much rather put that person in development. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They much rather take that person with good coding skills and they put them in development. So the testing community very often lacks this deep coding and technical skills to be able to automate testing. So that's basically the gap that is across the industry, and people find it very difficult to automatically test at scale. Yeah, and basically make sure that their applications are reliable. And there's a massive gap in the industry which is there to give a stamp of quality to applications before they go live. So that's essentially the pain point.
Perfect. Let's move to the demo part. I'll behave as a client, right? I am gonna ask some questions which might be very useful, or maybe sometimes that might also irritate you. But yeah, let's go for a live demo.
Yep, we can do that. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and try to share my screen. Sorry if I goof up a little bit. This is the first time I'm using this platform. Help me understand if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can.
Cool. So any cycle, right? Any cycle essentially starts off by getting a requirement from the business. So whether we are working for logistics companies like the logistics companies that exist in the world, or insurance companies, or anything, banking companies, and so on. Usually, the starting point of the cycle is by getting what people call a concept note from the business, right? So what Watermelon allows you to do is to take those concept notes. So concept note looks something like this, right? It's just a document. Yeah, it's something that looks, it's just a Word document usually, which essentially has the summary of what the business requirement is. I'm not taking you through it, but it's basically a Word document detailing what the business wants. You can
Kind of
put that.
BRD.
It's a step before the BRD. Yeah, the BRD is a much more detailed thing. So for people who are not aware, a BRD is what people call a business requirement document. Yeah.
Correct.
So what we are talking about is a step before that. So people take a concept note, which is a very brief English statement of the problem. Now, what Watermelon can do, since you mentioned a BRD, is that it can actually make a BRD out of that concept note. Yeah. So I'm not showing you all the detailed things because all these AIs take a little bit of time to go ahead and generate the things that are required. But once a BRD is made, it looks something like this, right? You can go ahead and see something like an actual BRD being created out of a concept note, and it looks like something that a company can actually go ahead and use. Okay. Now, once go ahead and actually auto-generate test cases out of it. But let's go ahead and see something that's actually cool, which talks about the whole point of reducing the toil that we were talking about of testing. Okay,
Great.
so
So
let's
I have
go
a couple
ahead.
of questions. I mean, I can
Go ahead.
ask in middle of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead.
So when we talk about the concept note, right? Concept note is basically overview of what exactly client want, right? And BRD is
Exactly.
well detailed, documented, step by
Indeed.
step process, right?
Correct. Correct.
So how you are creating BRD? Is it you're using some kind of API of maybe ChatGPT or something like that, or is it like
No.
a trained data which you have already in terms of
Yeah.
industry?
So Watermelon actually has a local AI. It's called an SLM, a small language model, which sits locally within the company's network. Because most of these large enterprises do not want to connect with a Gemini or a ChatGPT or a Llama where data goes outside their environment. Yeah. So essentially, everything is done within the customer's environment, and the AI can actually generate a BRD out of the concept notes and many other artifacts that you give it. Yeah. And what
Perfect.
you get at the end of the day is a completely fully functional business requirement document from which you can actually generate test cases out of. So the end output is a BRD which the AI will actually deconstruct, and the BRD will generate your test cases for you out of the box. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
A lot,
Yeah.
a lot. And all these test cases are based on the different scenario and different use cases, right?
Correct. And you can actually go ahead and interact with these test cases through AI as well. As you can see, there's this little thing called Improve with AI. Let me
Mm-hmm.
just move this guy away. Yeah, you can say that make this test case more detailed, make the steps more detailed to follow UI steps or something like that. I'm just making it up, right? So so you can go ahead and interact with the system to basically go ahead and make sure that the AI actually crawls your requirements and makes sure that the test cases that are generated are as specific to your business as possible. Does that make sense?
A lot, a lot. So this all happening before any product going to get adjusted as per the client, right? So this is the test case is getting tested before we are going into prod, or maybe we are going into sandbox, right?
Most
This is
definitely.
before
Most definitely.
quality.
This is actually very, very left in the software development lifecycle. Yeah, the
Perfect.
software development lifecycle starts with the concept note. Then the concept note becomes a detailed business requirement document, which
Right.
Watermelon can help you generate. Then that business requirement document is deconstructed into parts, and for each part, you generate test cases. But the meat of our demo today is going to be that once you have those test cases, how do you automate them? Yep.
Perfect.
And
Yeah,
most
let's
definitely, all this is happening in pre-production.
perfect. Let's move ahead.
Cool. So let's go ahead and see which site we are actually going to go ahead and automate. So I was thinking that we'll take a public-facing internet site. So let me actually show you the site first. This is something that anybody can go ahead and access. Yeah. So I can go ahead and say something like, I want to apply for a insurance. I'll give it some test. I'll just show you how the application works first before going ahead and automating it. Yeah. So this is what the application actually expects. And as you can see, what it wants to do is to go ahead and give certain data to it, and it moves ahead to its next step. You can see there's a big delay between step one and step two. Give it about
Yeah.
10 seconds for it to go to the next page. And all of these things are very difficult for people to actually, for automators to understand and to automate. Yeah. Now you'll see that before I go to step three, there's going to be a policy PDF that's going to get downloaded. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see what actually happened was you can see that the policy PDF got downloaded and you can see what premium the person has to pay. Are you able to see that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 42326.
42326. Okay. Let's go back to our application. And here we are. Yeah. And you can see one of the most common things that people need to do in a testing, for example, is to make sure that what actually came on the UI is what is reflected in the PDF document, because
PDF.
a PDF
Yes.
document is a legal document, right? And you can think of it, because many people on the audience come from different industries, whether you're in banking or whether you're in e-commerce or whether you're in logistics. The invoice or the bill of lading or the whatever PDF document that comes in, that's a legal document which needs to be validated that you're getting the correct information over there, right? Now, before I show you the automation, let's go back to what people do today. So today, to automate this 3 pages, just these 3 pages, okay, I was just doing it before we came to the call. This is the code that is required to automate these 3 pages. Can you see this?
Yeah. A huge
Now,
pile of
as you,
codes.
it's about 2 pages of code,
Yeah.
but as you can make out, this is not something that a regular Joe can churn out. Okay. Now, just so you know, this took me about 4 hours to churn out, interacting with Comet, Comet's latest AI browser, right? I'm assuming that a lot of people on the call are aware of Comet and how it works. Okay,
Right.
Comet has its agentic browser, and as you can see, I have multiple prompts and things like that, which I would use if I were a normal coding automator. Yeah, took me about
Yeah.
4 hours to get this thing out. Okay, now let's see how we do it using Watermelon. Make sense so far?
Yeah. A lot. A lot.
Cool. So let's go ahead and fire this guy up using Watermelon. I'm going to go ahead and say demo to group, okay? And I'm going to say this is like a sanity or a smoke test. I want to automate that page. By the way, I can do exactly the same thing for mobile apps. Yeah. I can do the same thing for desktop apps as well. Yeah. A lot of these
Oh.
companies have mainframes and things like that in the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do exactly this for any kind of application. I'm just showing it in a web application because that's just easy to demo. Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's see how we can automate this. So I'm going to use the system just like I would use as a normal user. Give me a second. Okay. What you can see out here is Watermelon. Can you see those
Yeah.
little boxes that are popping up in the middle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the AI in the backend, which is recognizing various bits of your web page, and or it could be a mobile app, or it could be your mainframe, or whatever it is, and it's recognizing what it needs to do. So let me show you an interesting thing what it does. So remember, there was a huge delay between page 1 and page 2,
Right.
right? Just hold on a second. Let the next page roll up. I'll show you something interesting. All right. Oh, the application itself isn't working. So just hold on a second. Their website isn't working. So we are dependent on India First Life's website a little bit. So hold on a second. Let this go. Okay, there we go. We go to the next page. All right. Now, can you see out here? There's a little bit of a wait till the page is loaded. Can you see out here?
Yeah.
You can tell the system, don't go ahead until the page is loaded. Yeah. Let me go ahead and do the next page. All right. And here's my PDF that gets downloaded. And I'm going to say that go ahead and capture the premium that comes in. Here's the premium 42326. I'm going to say go ahead and capture it. Okay. And let's stop here. Now, here's the little thing that I captured. Yeah, I captured the premium. I'm going to say go ahead and put it in a small variable. All right. And put it in there. All right, go ahead and do that. Now I'm good. Now the PDF got downloaded, right?
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to say takes a little bit of time for the PDF to get downloaded. Takes about 3 seconds for the PDF to get downloaded. Now, what I want to do is capture the path of the PDF itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell the system from all the files that got downloaded into my browser, right? Pick up the latest file that got downloaded into my browser and capture that path. Yeah. Go ahead and get that file into the context of my automation because this file is downloaded on some browser, correct?
Right.
Some
Right.
other browser, right? I'm
Yes.
going to say, go ahead and get that particular file into my browser, and I can do something as simple as all tables in the PDF. I want to capture all the tables into the PDF, and I can tell the
Mm-hmm.
system, go ahead and capture all the tables in this PDF that you get. Now, this took us roughly about, I don't know, 5 minutes to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
This exactly is what took me approximately 4 hours
4 hours
to
to get the entire
churn
code.
out,
Yeah.
right? Because what Watermelon is doing in the background is that it's going ahead and capturing all the details of your web page automatically. Yeah, it's going ahead
Mm.
and looking at every single thing. It's looking and saying that, okay, this is the thing that you interacted with. This is to the left of it. This is to the right of it. This is at the top. This is at the bottom. It basically goes ahead and looks at the entire page that you're on and captures things. Now,
Mm.
testers very rarely go ahead and run the same test case with the same data. One of the challenges
Mm.
of testing is running the same thing with different kinds of test data, right?
Right.
So Watermelon actually can go ahead and ask you, give me the test data that you want to test it on. I have some data with me. So I'm going to say that, hey, don't run this with the same data that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, wherever you want to put in the name, pick up the name from the Excel sheet that you have or the test data that you have, pick up the date of birth from there as well, pick up the mobile number from all these places, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you can test in a different data on a single click, right?
Correct, correct. So the same thing, you can basically run this entire process that you went ahead and automated against a whole bunch of different test data. Okay. Now, do you
Mm-hmm.
remember that there was a little bit of an error that came up, and
Right.
I had to actually go ahead and redo those two steps? Do you
Right.
remember that?
Yes.
Those were
Yes.
these two steps actually. I'm going to discard them because I'm going to go ahead and assume that the website is going to work when we run
Mm.
it now. Make sense? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say that run this entire thing, get the PDF, validate whether the value is coming up as required. So let's
Mm-hmm.
see if I can do that successfully. Let's go ahead and execute what we just created in
This
a
will be
second.
very interesting part.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see if this works. And this is where, by the way, testers also have this problem where, you have different environments. You spoke about
Yes.
pre-production and things like
Right.
that, right? So you might
Sandbox,
have,
pre-pod,
exactly.
UAT.
You can go ahead and run the same automation across anything. You create it
Oh,
once and you're done. And
that's okay. So I mean, I would like you to little bit focus here, right? So,
yeah,
why it's important because I know, right, and you know, right, but we
yeah.
also have to explain that why it's important to run this test cases in different environment and what are the use of that.
Yeah, it's basically people have a massive headache of a time once. So, in enterprises, code moves from environment to environment. First, the developers do it in a dev environment. Then, the
Right,
developers hand over to people who do it in what is called a system integration test, SIT
right,
environment. Once
right.
those guys figure out that, okay, the code is working with various components. Because imagine every step in an application interacts with different things, right? If you are going to your bank, right, all of you have an internet banking site that you bank, Just the act of logging into your internet banking, things are actually talking to about 5 different systems, right? Things
Hmm.
are talking to a CRM system of the bank. Things are probably going ahead and looking at a database. It's looking at an identity management software and so on and so forth. Yeah. It's also
Right.
probably making calls to Facebook or Google Analytics APIs. All of these things need to be tested in a system integration testing. Then
Right.
people hand it over to what is called a user acceptance testing, a UAT
Hmm.
environment. People
Right.
go ahead and test it there before it goes into production. So when you actually create automations, if you have to create automations for every environment, because in every environment, small details change. The
Yeah.
login credentials are different. The database strings are different. The API keys are different. Yeah. It is a nightmare. So if you can abstract all this into one code and you can say that, hey, execute the same code against whichever environment I want, it's a huge improvement over life as it exists today.
Fact.
Right?
Fact.
So
And
that's
it's a huge challenge for most of the companies because it's also a tedious task to test same
yeah,
thing in a different environment, right? Sometimes people
yeah,
just say उसमें काम किया था इसमें कर ही लेगा क्या ही है, and
correct.
that's why
Correct.
things get missed out.
And you can see now that your automation is executing in front of you. I hope that error was taken care of. Yeah, I think so.
Oh
Yeah, there
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
You can see that that entire flow is executing. You should see the PDF getting downloaded. Can you see
Yeah,
over
yeah.
here? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Now it's gonna go ahead and read the entire PDF and tell you what was there inside it. Yeah.
Whoa.
And you can go ahead and validate values from inside this and so on and so forth. Now, what makes Watermelon especially cool is that it goes ahead and has 400 plus such no code activities that it comes prepackaged with, right? Now, what that means is you want to go ahead and interact with PDFs as we just saw. You have Excel sheets which you need to look into to do something.
Hmm.
Yeah, you go ahead and want to, let's say your OTPs come in emails, right? A lot of the
Right.
times in a flow, your OTPs can come in emails. You can go ahead and
Right.
read emails. You can read things from a database. You can make external API calls. You can write your own logic functions. You can say that if this person, like in an insurance flow, if the person was between 20 and 40 years old, take this flow, otherwise go to that flow. You can basically go ahead and do pretty much whatever your imagination allows you to do, right? Now, here's the more complete thing when it comes to large enterprises. Testing is not just about going ahead and automating a flow. You need to
Hmm.
be able to basically plug it next to requirements. Those business requirements that come in from the business. You can say that for this particular business case, I want to go ahead and associate the test case that I just created. Yeah. And it becomes a continuous auditable flow for the business to basically say that this is how my requirements were tested. Does that make sense? There's a
A lot.
continuous audit trail. And
Right.
when testers either pass or fail their test cases, and let's assume these two test cases passed, but if it failed, they can directly send their failure reports to the engineering team, and who can basically log into the same system and debug and figure out and fix the problem right there. Because you have all your information in the same place.
Hmm.
Now,
So
one
is
final
it,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, this watermelon also keep testing on a different level or maybe different module, and do it also, I mean, does it also accumulate the entire data from different module and keep
Yeah.
sending to the, okay, that's
Yeah. So we just said tested it on the SIT environment on the test data, right? This is what we
mm-hmm,
basically did just now.
mm-hmm,
I could essentially complicate this multiple times. We are not doing too many complex things right now. But what
mm-hmm,
we are doing actually, and again, to reiterate and not to make light of the fact,
mm-hmm.
if this was in a regular enterprise, what we did in 10 minutes is about a 2.5 day job,
Yeah,
what we
it
just did
is
in this call. Yeah. Now, to your point, I want to go ahead and say that test my flow in all the browsers that my customers are likely to test this on. Yeah,
Hmm.
I can go ahead and say test it against all kinds of browsers that you do. And again, it's one click, it goes ahead and launches all those browsers and tests the same thing against it. Now imagine you're doing this for your mobile apps. You're taking one particular mobile flow, testing it against a Samsung, testing it against an Oppo, testing it against a OnePlus, and so on and so forth. Yeah, you're doing it all at one go. Yeah.
Right.
Now that's like the amount of time that it goes ahead and saves you is immense. Yeah.
Right.
So that's essentially what we try and do, and that's one of the reasons why you know large enterprises essentially one by one are starting to standardize on Watermelon to do their entire testing automation, because this is something that allows large enterprises to have people who understand the business very well, right? Now in all these flows are very business centric, right? You need to know the
Right.
insurance business to actually automate a flow properly. You
Right.
need to know the banking business to automate banking properly, right? Logistics to automate logistics. You need to know what. So you can have a person like yourself, Pratik, who understands the business to go ahead and test their entire user acceptance testing without knowing any of the technical backends. Make sense?
Perfect. Yeah, a
Like there's
lot.
no
A
way
lot.
that a business person would know the technology to do this.
Of
That's not
course.
happening, right?
Not at all.
But a business person can certainly do what we just did.
Right. Right.
Now, let's look at an interesting thing. Can you see that while all of this is executing, can you see that some of these are passing in green and one of them, the one that ran on an Edge browser, can you see that it
Mm-hmm.
passed in orange? You see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's have a look at why that is. That is because the way that the application developers have gone ahead and developed this application, some of the elements are actually the places which hold some of the elements are dynamically generated. And there is an AI at the back of Watermelon, which actually goes ahead and auto heals those elements. Again, without the coder having or without the tester having to do anything, it says that, dude, when you recorded this, this is the technical component that was there. But when you
Hmm.
played back, the browser rendered it in a particular way. And because I know how the flow is working, I've automatically patched the. This is a little technical, but suffice it to say, there is an AI working in the backend which is patching the scripts for you. Make
That's
sense?
really insane. I mean, I can imagine the bandwidth which is required to figure out this thing, and
Yeah.
it's getting solved here in just seconds. I mean,
Now, remember what we started with.
hmm.
Reliability is a combination of two things, right? We said that reliability is a combination of functionality, and it is the other part of reliability is the latency or the
Right.
performance. Correct?
Right.
Right now, what we have done is that we have gone ahead and tested for the functionality. Correct? We have said
Hmm.
that if you give it data, you are getting the correct values in your PDF. That's what we have just tested. So this is what we
Right.
term as functional sanity. Yeah. Now, the other part of reliability is whether this happened fast enough or not. Now, what
Hmm.
Watermelon does is that it also, apart from looking at sanity of functionality, it also goes ahead
Hmm.
and tells you how your code was performed. So
Oh my God.
it tells you that while your code would have performed in the right way, but it may not have performed with the speed that you wanted to.
Can
There
you
are
zoom in a
things
little bit, please?
there are things going on in your website which are essentially performing slower than what you might want it to perform at. So you, as a engineering head or an application owner, and remember to your earlier point, Pratik, this is happening way left. Yeah, we are
Yeah.
way much in pre-production. Now
Right.
imagine if things are not performing well in pre-production, as you release the code further and further down, things are going to go to shit in production.
Yes. 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 For sure.
Yeah. Because as and when more and more people are going to start using the product, things are going to fall apart even faster. So the
Yeah.
earlier you catch these performance problems, the better is the likelihood that your code is going to perform well in production. So
Hmm.
the summary of this is one part of it is looking at functionality. At every step, is things happening or not happening? The second part of it is looking at latency. Is it
Right.
performing faster? And what we try and do is we try and make it as easy as possible for engineering teams to debug the problem, because at every step you can actually see what was happening on your
Mm-hmm.
application. Yeah? You capture all the screenshots as to what was happening during your test run. The entire video of whatever you did is captured and sent to you, right? And it makes it super easy for engineering teams to basically go ahead and very, very quickly figure out what the problems in your applications were.
That's insane. That's insane. I mean, what basically anyone needs in a company, right? Like a
Yeah.
leader, that they need a visibility, because there's so many complexity happen whenever you go for a launch, or maybe a implementation in client locations, right? I
Yep.
still remember there were use issues, so by which a client was not able to access our solution, and
Yep.
the end we got to know that that particular client was using Safari browser, and we have
Yep.
tested our entire use case in
On
Chrome,
Chrome.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And it was a so entire team was worried that what exactly happening. Every course looks perfect, everything is good, running, it's happening, even I can access in my system. Client logging is very good and everything is good, but then at the end we this is how we figure out that okay, so client is accessing this in
Actually,
Safari.
this is a great point that you brought up. What you just described, Prateek, is a problem that is called a lack of coverage in the testing community. Yeah.
Right.
So you have only covered your test cases for Chrome, but not anticipated that there is a lack of coverage of testing in other browsers. Now,
Right.
this is where, remember the AI generated test cases that we spoke about
Yeah.
initially, when you
Mm-hmm.
create your BRD and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
The business person, the actual business person, can go ahead right at the time. Hold on a second. Where was I? Let me just go back to that place where I was. The business person can actually instruct the AI before any of this happens and say, can you, my prompt is probably very small. Let me just zoom in. Make sure there is coverage for all browsers. Ensure there are test cases to test against uh, Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. Oh, I mean, I'm just making it up, but
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you get what I'm trying to say. You
Yes,
can
yes.
make sure that the test cases which are generated already keep that in mind, so that the testers who are going to look at those test cases and do their activity already know that this is a requirement. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. Great.
So one last point. Now, while what we saw out here was maybe like 15% of, let's say, the functional testing, Watermelon is actually a very, very vast platform. What
Mm-hmm.
we just saw right now is a small part of functional testing. Yeah. And we only saw web. Yeah. There's similar, there's exactly a similar thing to be seen for mobile. There's something similar to be seen for mainframes, for AS400 systems, and so on. But there are other modules for testing APIs. There are other modules for testing non-functional requirements where you can actually pump your application with faults. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
can make interfaces go away. You can add data corruption. You can pump your software with problems. Yeah, and there are other modules which basically measure reliability in production. There are other modules which basically mock up APIs which you may not have access to. So I'll give you an example. Uh, let's take the example of a logistics company, right?
Hmm.
So when a logistics company goes ahead, let's say I'm a customer of a logistics company. My workflow actually involves going ahead and putting in my details, blah, 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 blah. And at some point, hello, hello, hello,
Yeah, yeah,
am I
yeah.
back? Ah,
Yeah, you are back.
all right. So what I was saying is my workflow involves going ahead and entering my details, what's my parcel, what are the things that are there. And at some point, I basically have to give my KYC, right?
Right,
Maybe I have to give my Aadhaar number or something, which is part of the regulations, right? For me
right.
to be able to get my parcel. Now that KYC authentication is actually done by a third party, which in this
Yes.
case may be Aadhaar or something like that, or somebody generates an OTP or whatever it is. Now,
Right.
while developing the software, that logistics company may or may not have access to that third party API. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? While
Yeah.
developing, they don't have access to that. They're just making the software, assuming that will come up at the last moment. Last moment,
Hmm.
when we plug in kar dega, वो API को.
Correct.
But what you can do using Watermelon is that you can mock up that API so that developers and testers can actually use a quote unquote fake Aadhaar authenticator so that it helps them develop those flows properly. Make sense?
Whoa. A lot.
You can do a lot of such stuff. Basically, it takes you through the entire SDLC with no code. And as you see, no code was used. So again, summary of what we saw. You can start at a concept note.
Mm-hmm.
The concept note can get converted into a business requirements document. The
Hmm.
business requirement document can get converted into test cases. Test cases can go ahead and get converted into automations with the ease that you saw. Whatever we just executed, ran and executed in front of you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people can go ahead and data drive them. You can data drive them against test data that you have. When it runs, you get all your screenshots and your videos and the evidence of testing captured automatically, not just functionality, but also performance. And from the same UI, you can go ahead and raise your defects and raise your failures and feed it back to your engineering team.
Whoa, that's really nice. That's really nice. Okay, so now I have a couple of questions, right?
Yeah.
And you might have missed it, but there's someone who have just appreciated you, right? So Vivek Singh just commented, "This is how sales leaders simplify product complexity." Awesome, Soham. So yeah, so of course, I mean, you are best in giving demo, but yeah, just to make you feel good. But yeah, the
No, it's
question is
not
like,
a. It's just that anybody can do this. Actually, you go ahead and practice it like 4 or 5 times on your own. Anybody can go ahead and do it.
yeah, the real question that how you your commercials place, right? I mean, so basically, do
Actually,
you yeah? So you guys
a great
charge
point.
on charge on a test cases basis, or you charge on a subscription basis, or you charge on the how many testers you are reviewing from the organization basis?
None of the above. Yeah.
Okay.
So now, but the question is a very, very important one because testing automation is not a very sexy new problem. This is a problem that has existed for at least 3 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever since people started making software which is publicly usable, people have had a challenge with testing. This is nothing
Yes.
new. And ever since products have been used with more frequency, people have tried to automate that testing. Okay. Now, if you go and Google testing automation solutions, I think you will get at least 150 unique results,
Mm-hmm.
of which about 20 to 25 of them are what you call popular results. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there are at least. Now, despite that, why are we seeing a situation where large enterprises are adopting something like Watermelon, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
though we are a fairly young company, not been around for like 20 years or something like that. We're pretty young, but there are very, very large banks in India, in Singapore, in the Philippines, government regulatory bodies. Why are they using this? I mean, again, it's not a new product. We haven't done something that's radically, the problem statement isn't new. Let's put it that way.
Right.
The reason is one of the reasons is exactly what you mentioned about how things are licensed.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that actually retards large companies from adopting testing automation is the licensing model that's there in the industry. Most people license these products by the number of users automating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that, let's say, for an example, I am insurance company X. Yeah. I have a testing team of 40 people, which is very common, by the way. Yeah. 30,
Right.
40 people in a large company is very common. In fact, most companies have much larger testing teams. If I have to buy 40 licenses, without exaggerating, I mean, there's no market leader. That's the other thing in this space.
Mm-hmm.
There is none. There is no person. If you look at the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for the space,
Mm-hmm.
you will find there is no market leader. I encourage you to go ahead and look at the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. They've only done it once, and they
Okay.
don't do it more than that because there is no market leader in this space.
Hmm.
That The company which is more or less prominently mentioned, if you were to buy 40 licenses, it would cost you about $750,000 a year for any enterprise. Yeah,
And this is add-on
700.
charges.
No, license cost of $750,000 is what a company would have to pay typically.
Right.
Yeah, and on
Right.
top of that, you need people who are trained in that software.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Watermelon, we do not charge by the number of users. We don't charge. Of course, it's a subscription license. It's a
Hmm.
yearly payment, but we charge by the number of applications in scope, right?
Perfect.
So if you are automating your internet banking, that's one license. If you're automating your whatever insurance portal, that's one license. And once you have that one license, you can have as many users automate. The cost factor for companies drops to almost an eighth if you do
Hmm.
this. Right? It's profitable for the company, for us, and it's if you're paying one-eighth of the cost, it's obviously something of a happy situation for customers as well, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
And more importantly, as you can see from the demo that we did, the training required to use what we have is minimal. You,
Yeah.
you play around with this for about 2 weeks, you can do what you want with it. Yeah.
That's true.
So you don't need complex certifications. You don't need to go to school and get anything to use stuff like this. Do you have to know the business? Sure. You have to know your
Of
own
course.
business.
Perfect. So this is really great to see that how things are getting, change, and the way you showed the entire demo, right? Looks like that the testing for the product, because uh, nowadays the only problem which people facing that, I mean, it's not a problem. Basically, people have a more access to launch softwares or SaaS or any product quicker, right? And as we all know, the faster it goes, the quality gets decreased, right? So always whenever anything happening again and again and very in a fast pace, quality decrease for sure, right? So there's this kind of solution like Watermelon, right, plays a major role to make sure the quality is always improving, because this is how you're gonna you're gonna have the CLV of a client, right? If your quality of software is not good, you're not gonna, even for me, I mean, I get irritated if I have to wait more than 10 seconds or 50 seconds on
Yep.
any page, maybe anyway, right? Sometimes I refresh again and again just to make sure that things are going on, and especially a site like banking or insurance where you have to update the entire data again if you refresh a page, right? These are the problem which we have to face. That's really
Yep.
nice.
But you brought up an important point there. You talked about the time to market. You didn't use that term, but you
Right.
meant the time to market. I was talking to a CIO of a company recently, big company in India. They were telling me that the time it takes currently from when a business actually comes out with an idea, yeah,
Hmm.
let's say, and the ideas are not some revolutionary ideas. They're ideas we are all familiar with. So for
Right.
instance, there's Christmas coming up. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
people want to give Christmas offers to people.
Correct.
Everybody knows that travel is going to happen during Christmas. Let's take the
Right.
same example of traveling for a vacation. People
Right.
know that people are going to travel in their vacations.
Hmm.
Insurance companies, let's say travel insurance companies, want to go ahead and give some offers. Yeah,
Hmm.
buy three or more travel insurance companies, get a 25% discount. The time it takes for this company from the time they think of their idea till the time it goes live after their testing, after their development, and all of that is on an average 172 days. Yeah. Which means if they want that Christmas offer to go live on Christmas, they should have frozen their marketing ask by the month of April or May.
Oh
You
my
know what I'm saying?
God.
If they
Yeah.
didn't do that, it wouldn't go live by Christmas. So you can imagine the lack of agility that current businesses have.
Right.
Now, imagine that insurance company B has a quicker way of going to market, and they can, instead of freezing their requirements in the month of May, they can afford to freeze their requirements by September. Do you not think that they will come up with a better way
Of
to
course.
attract customers?
Yeah. Of
So
course.
these are the kind of things that people essentially struggle with. And one of the main ways to cut down that time to market is by cutting down testing time. If you're
Hmm.
currently By the way, out of that 172 days that I told you, 52 days of that was testing. Right?
Crazy.
Now, if you can cut down 52 days to 20 days or even less, every day or even every hour the company has saved is a meaningful change to their business, right? Because between now imagine that on the last minute there is a typhoon, tornado, something that puts your entire travel plans, everybody,
Right.
global travel out of whack,
Yeah.
right? The company's entire marketing plan is basically gone out of the window. So the faster you can be agile for these kind of
Hmm.
things, the better. And one of the ways to do that is by chopping down testing time, not
Perfect.
compromising on the quality of it.
Of course. Of course. Great. So, I mean, there's no question in chat box. I guess most of the question I have already asked, and you have covered all the things, right? But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and it's a great demo, great product. All of you who are watching, there will be link of Soham LinkedIn and Watermelon on the in the description. Go check it out. And this video will be live forever on my channel. So if you wanna have the demo view, right, you can access it and whenever you want. And yeah, we're gonna have this kind of demo every Sunday. And thank you, Soham. Thank you for being a part of
Thank you.
community and giving us demo.
Thank you. Good to meet you again.
Okay.
See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone.